In summaries, keep to one tense. In summarizing the action of a drama, the writer should always use the present tense. In summarizing a poem, story, or novel, he should preferably use the present, though he may use the past if he prefers. If the summary is in present tense, antecedent action should be expressed by the perfect, if in the past, by the past perfect. Now, um, what this means, a lot of times, going over these tenses, it might seem really overwhelming, especially actually for learners who are, who grew up in English speaking places. Um, I think a lot of times just, seeing examples and reading a lot and writing a lot, you're going to remember a lot more of what sounds right, what doesn't sound right. Even if you don't know exactly what perfect, past perfect, uh, etc. All of these tenses, if you're not, 100% exact on them, um, by reading a lot and writing a lot, you're still gonna learn a lot, and you're still gonna know, you're still gonna feel the red flags. Red flags are gonna come up if the sentence is written wrong, and the green flags are gonna come up if the sentence is written right. So here's some examples. An unforeseen chance prevents Friar John from delivering Friar Lawrence's letter to Romeo. Meanwhile, owing to her father's arbitrary change of the day set for her wedding, Juliet has been compelled to drink the potion on Tuesday night, with the result that Balthazar informs Romeo of her supposed death before Friar Lawrence learns of the non delivery of the letter. It's very clear, it makes sense. Um, and then Strunk adds, but whichever tense be used in the summary, a past tense in indirect discourse or an indirect question remains unchanged. The friar confesses that it was he who married them. Um, Apart from the exceptions noted, whichever tense the writer chooses, he should use throughout. Shifting from one tense to the other gives the appearance of uncertainty and irresolution. That's definitely true. So you want to choose a tense and use that throughout your essay. Um, so prevents, right? Prevents. This prevents. And then has been compelled, right? The past perfect. Antecedent action, right? Action that precedes the action that we're talking about now, or precedes the action. So preventing Friar John. Meanwhile, owing to her father's arbitrary change the day set for her wedding, Juliet has been compelled. So it's antes. I mentioned earlier, antes means before in Spanish. Knowing other languages, especially Romance languages, can help you with regards to English, um, or Greek or Latin. If you learn the root uh, languages from a lot of these words, you're definitely going to increase your vocabulary. Your lexicon will be immeasurably increased. Um, but yeah, antecedent means action before the action that we're talking about. Then past perfect has been compelled. But uh, the perfect, the past perfect, it flows. And knowing that this makes sense. It's an unforeseen chance prevents Friar John. Da da da. Meanwhile, owing to her father's arbitration, Juliet has been compelled to drink. I mean, it flows. Um, In presenting the statements or the thought of someone else, as in summarizing an essay or reporting a speech, the writer should avoid intercalating such expressions as he said, he stated, the speaker added, etc. He should indicate clearly at the outset, once for all, that what follows is summary, and then waste no words in repeating the notification. Yeah, so you don't want to just keep saying blah blah blah, Shakespeare said, blah blah blah, Shakespeare said. You just want to keep it sort of, keep it direct, keep it keep it keep the extraneous words minimized. In notebooks, in newspapers, in handbooks of literature, summaries of one kind or another may be indispensable, and for children in primary schools, it is a useful exercise to retell a story in their own words. But in the criticism or interpretation of literature, the writer should be careful to avoid dropping in a summary. This is a fact. You don't want to drop in a summary unless it supports your thesis. And we have other videos where we're talking about essay writing and all that stuff, so we'll jump through um, this section here. It's saying He's saying that when you're writing a literary analysis, you should aim to write an orderly discussion supported by evidence, not a summary with occasional comments. Exactly right. It's one thing that you want to remember as well is you don't want to just drop in these huge thick walls of text, like 8 lines of text and then like 2 lines of analysis. No, it's better to have 2 lines of text and 8 lines of analysis. Um, you don't want your text to overwhelm the analysis. It shows lazy writing. It's a little bit of an outside discussion. Um, from what we're talking about here with regards as compared to what we're talking about here in summaries keep to 1/10. But since he's talking about it here, then I'll mention it. Anyways, to wrap up this section, similarly, if the scope of his discussion includes a number of works, he will as a rule do better not to take them up singly in chronological order, but to aim from the beginning at establishing general conclusions. This is a fact when you're talking about a number of works. Um, Chronological order can work depending on how you structure your essay. We've had essays, we will have essays that where we use chronology as the order in discussing, let's say, for example, a poem, um, and potentially also a full book, but only if it fits, only if it fits the thesis, and only if it shows, character arc or thematic arc, progression, etc. Um, so I wouldn't say chronological order is out. I would say chronological order is one of many choices that you can make with regards to structuring your essay or your scope of your discussion. But anyways, to go back, in summaries, keep to 1/10, and this is a great example of that done effectively. Thank you very much.